Getting good at these event studies is part of the preparation for exam 3. And a student asked about chapter 8, number 9 questions. And these questions really have a good deal of chapter 11 in them too. So let's, I won't do all 6 events, but we did a demand event in class. Let me do a couple of these events here. Let's do a variable cost increase and a fixed cost increase. It's useful to compare and contrast those two cases. Probably 2 different screencasts, but let's start in on this variable cost increase. All right, the first thing you do for these competitive firm and competitive market event studies is to map out an initial long-run equilibrium for the market and for the firm. So let's start with the market, and we'll feed that information will feed into the firm. Units are millions of bushels per year at the market scale and just bushels per year at the firm scale. And then it's dollars per bushel for both firm and market. The y-axis units are the same, and that's important. All right, we want to draw an initial long-run equilibrium. So in the long-run equilibrium, there's a short-run market equilibrium. Market's clearing at price P naught and at quantity Q naught. The reason you do this first is you need to know where the initial long-run equilibrium is for firms. And remember that the long-run equilibrium happens where firms are making 0 profits. So their average cost curves are like so, and their marginal cost curves are like so, and their output decision is at Q naught. So this is a firm in long-run equilibrium. Profits are equal to 0. That is economic profit. So they're making a normal rate of return to capital investments. They're all agents involved are doing as well as they would be doing in their next best opportunity. No better, but just as well. All right, so this is our short run and long run equilibrium. This is the starting point. Not because the market's ever in equilibrium, but because we want to isolate in on the effect of one event. So let's, we decided the event was going to be a variable cost increase. Let's suppose the price of fertilizer goes up. So that would mean marginal costs and average costs both shift up. I'm going to draw a really exaggerated shift up. The new average cost curve still intersects marginal cost curve at the minimum average cost. This is an average AC prime, MC prime. They're in blue, so you can tell which is the new and which is the old. Now, it's important to map the increase in industry marginal costs, which is the supply curve, to that rise in marginal cost should be symmetric to the rise at the firm level. Because remember that the firm level marginal costs are what are determining the market level marginal cost. So if every firm in the industry had the similar marginal cost increase, I'm going to call the supply curve the industry marginal cost curve, but I'm going to call it the supply curve. Either one works. All right, so there we have it. That's the event. Now let's look at the ramifications of that event. Price rises to P1, and critically, notice that price has gone up, but not by the full amount of the increase in marginal cost in the short run. Market quantity is at big Q1, and then the firms face a new demand curve. Remember that firms face a perfectly elastic demand curve. They can sell all they want at the going market price. Notice what happens here. Firm output falls to small q1. And notice that this price is below the new average cost curve. So the firms are on a different isoprofit function, And it's an isoprofit function where profits are less than zero. So isoprofit, we'll call it isoprofit 1, but we'll remind ourselves that firms are making a loss, that is, profits are less than zero. So that's the end of the short run case, and we now turn to the long run case, and we think, well, gee, firms are making a loss in the short run, what's going to happen in the long run? Well, if firms are making a loss in the short run, some of those firms or farms, remember this is corn market, this is a individual corn farm. Some of those farmers are going to decide, hey, I can plant other things besides corn. I'm going to take my land out of corn and plant my next best opportunity, which is in wheat, and there I can make a normal rate of return. So there's going to be exit. And as exit happens, we know that the supply curve shifts to the left. How much will the supply curve have to shift to the left? Well, so that the farmers that are still growing corn and after all the shakeout are just breaking even. That would be a new long-run equilibrium. Q2, P2, and notice that at P2, the farmers that are still in corn after all is said and done are just breaking even. They're back to the isoprofit or N isoprofit line where profits are equal to zero. And the way I've drawn it, that occurs at the original level of output. I drew it so that the minimum average cost, the new cost function, is also coincides with the quantity where the average costs were minimized in the original case. So that's our event analysis, short run, long run. Take it step by step. It's doable. If you just look at this mass of lines and arrows all at once, it's a little bit hard to sort out. So that's why a screencast is better than just a straight answer key.